Well, we've seen enough of that. Let's go on. Randy Schlitz, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of the United States of America.
Unmute, there you go.
Pardon?
To the
Okay.
Republic.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Like
of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Alan, what's next up? Oh, yes. This has a good story. I thought you would like this. This is my graphic of the day. This is the European hare. This picture won several very distinguished prizes in Europe. It's nice and warm and fuzzy. And so when I picked it off the internet, I sent it to friends all over the world. And amusingly, it produced more negative feedback than anything I have sent in years. One friend in Finland said, "I know that bugger. He's the one that ate our tulips and then dug the bulbs out of the ground." And a friend up in Danville said, "That thing ate my whole garden, and when I replanted it, he ate it again." So be careful about warm, fuzzy graphics. That's my message for today. But it's a nice graphic. Okay, do we have songsters today?
Unmute, unmute.
Yeah, Alan, it's muted.
Sunny side of life every day, and we'll see us walk away if you keep on the sunny side of life.
We've never done this before, so this is a good experiment.
Am I on? Is anybody talking to me?
I think it's over to you, Linda.
Oh, I just go?
You're up, girl, you're up.
Okay. President Jay, fellow Rotarians, and I don't know if we have any guests, but this is more of a show and tell plus thought of the day. A couple of years ago, I was in a small antique store in San Juan Bautista. I discovered a piano collection in 6 volumes called The World's Best Music, and I'm hoping that Alan will put that up. Thank you, Alan. Most of the music in this collection I already have, but I bought them anyway because they were in such good condition and they just don't make them like this anymore. But a few days later, when I was perusing the volumes, a letter fell out of one. Probably it had not been seen since it was tucked in that book almost 75 years ago. It's dated, as you can see, June 28, 1945. It's from Mr. E.R. Bennett Jr. to E.R. Bennett Sr., and I want to read the letter. It's just a simple letter of a son to his dad, but it's just before the war is over. Japanese didn't surrender until August, and this is written in June. So I'm going to read it. It's not too long. Dear Dad, I've been meaning to drop you a few lines for months, but I guess you realize how hard it is to write. I'm enclosing a money order for you. I had intended to do that a long time before Father's Day, but we were pretty busy then, and it came and went. The money order's for $25. $15 is for you from the kid you've been handing money to for 22 or 3 years. Buy yourself a soda, ha ha. Then I'd like a favor. Please take the other 10 and spend 5 on some flowers for Mother and 5 on some flowers for Gladys. Or buy them some little something you've heard them say they would like, you know, some little femininely impractical gift. Unnecessary things always tickle women. Then he asks questions of his family. How are you doing? How's mom? I hope she's not working too hard. How are the kids? Are they ruining everything? Then he says, your recital invitations were very nice. Mother sent me some. And how's your money situation? Please let me send you $100 if you need it. I never spend any over here, but if you can use it, I want to send it to you. Now for a secret between the two of us. As things now stand, our battalion will be back in the US before very long, probably within the next 3 months. I haven't told Gladys as the time would probably drag on, but you can tell her if you think it'll help. How's Prince? Push him over a couple of times for me. Well, Dad, be sure to use the new APO address on the envelope when you drop me a line in answer, and take it easy. With love, your son, Bus. This week, as we think about those who have given their lives to protect this country, we should remember that many were just ordinary people with families doing extraordinary duty to protect us and our way of life. And I sure hope that First Lieutenant Bus Bennett was one of those lucky ones who returned safely to his home and family in Westfield, New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. That was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. What a great discovery. Your reward for shopping. All right. Here's
Yep.
our front line, our Zoom host, the meister of all things electronic, Glenn Kubiak. Pat Coyle is working as spore reporter today from Sacramento. Pat, is that right? Alan, of course, audio visual. Niall is the videography, and the spur publisher this week will be Don Wentz. Okay, moving on. Do we have visiting Rotarians to introduce? Obviously, a bunch of you popped up. I guess you're going to have to introduce yourself because it's sort of hard to get an arm around you in this circumstance. Ramesh, why don't you start?
I'm Ramesh Hariharan from the Rotary Club of Silicon Valley Passport. I'm the district governor for District 5170. It's nice to be here with you people. Thank you.
And President Jay, it's my honor to welcome President Al Atienza, president of the Fremont Morning Club. And I had the pleasure of joining President Al and the Fremont Morning Rotarians this morning at 7:15, and I plan to get back to Fremont Morning sometime. So, Al, are you there?
Yes, thank you for the invitation. Al Atienza with the Fremont Morning Club, past president and president for next year as well. So
great.
So I'm happy to be here. It's my pleasure to be here. Great to see it's great to see a meeting with more than 20.
Oh, and I have to say, President Al, I see your beautiful bougainvillea arbor in this picture. That's great.
Yeah, I went out and took a picture of it just for you.
Great, thank you. Looks wonderful. Great to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Anyone else?
Jay? Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Lee
oh,
Denlinger.
Lee, you're there. Lee, yes. Lee Denlinger, yes.
I'm not a member of the Livermore Club, although I've been attending so many meetings lately. Maybe you're including me. Lee Denlinger, District 5170, Assistant Governor, Area 4. Member of the Dublin Rotary Club.
Lee, you flashed by, but it's hard to hold all the names in memory. Anyone else who'd like to introduce themselves?
Yeah, hello. Hey, Mark Linsky, I'm from the Pleasanton North Rotary Club. I'm youth protection officer over there, and I've also been recently the Area 4 speech contest chair.
Good. We're glad you're here. Anyone else?
Hey everyone, I'm Megan Rouse. I'm here visiting from the Dublin Rotary Club. Thanks so much for having me.
Hi, Megan. I would add Megan's also participating in the program and going to give us an update. So
that's right. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Anyone else? This is great.
Hi, Jay. Hi, Jay. Christian.
Yes.
Jay, can you hear me?
From where? Yes.
Yes, we hear you,
Where
Christian.
are you from?
Sounds like we have Christian on the line there.
Christian, go ahead.
Hi guys, how y'all doing?
Well, we're fine.
We're fine.
I think he just joined the meeting.
Yes, I just joined. Sorry, I just joined the meeting.
Okay.
So,
You're not a guest.
All right. Yeah. Or a visiting Rotarian. You're just a Rotarian. Any other visiting Rotarians? Okay. Any guests someone would like to introduce?
Yes, Jay. Jay, Diana Geyer, I'm in San Francisco, and I have a friend here with me, Joyce James, but she's invisible. We got them both on.
Yeah, I'm turning mine off. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, you should be on now.
Did you hear me?
Yes, we did. Make sure one of your audios is off. I think it's better now. Go ahead. Okay, next guest.
Hi, everyone. I'll introduce myself. This is Jared from Kinsa, and excited to speak a little bit more with you all around outbreak detection for COVID-19 and how we can partner together and are partnering together. So very excited to be here.
All right. Any other guests? Well, if not, Kimberly, you wanted to make an announcement. Kimberly Grudell. I know you're there, Kimberly.
Hello, I am. Hi, everybody. I am just so surprised how fast the year's gone by and realized that Jay's term is coming to an end and I hadn't yet joined President's Club. So I wanted to join President's Club, and then I got to thinking maybe there's others out there that have put it off or just forgot about it or meant to do it but haven't. So for anyone that would like to join President's Club with me, I will donate an additional $5 up to $50 to bring my donation up to $300 for President's Club this year.
Thank you, Kimberly. That's most gracious of you. If you want to take her up on it, you may do so anonymously. Okay, Alan, can we switch to our coming attraction? Next week, our own Mark Roberts is going to talk to us about how Livermore is planning to cope with the future of coronavirus. This is the second in a succession of talks from leaders of the city. Kelly Bowers was the first on the schools. Mark will be next week on the what the city is doing, or guessing, as we say, no offense. And the week after that, Matt Fuzzi from LARPD will tell us how RPD is going to plan. So we're going to run the chimes on the city stuff. So Mark, we look forward to you next week. You always draw a crowd and you always make us laugh. With that said, I guess we can move on to the program.
Okay, President Jay, thank you very much. And Alan, I may take you up on running through the slides for us. If you pull those up, are you prepared to do so? If not, I have them, I can show them. But, you know, Joel, are you in the house? Joel is the board director who's got the point on this, and I'm labor. So we're going to just talk a little bit about this Kinsa and Rotary distribution of free Kinsa smart thermometers. And this is important to build an early warning system for COVID-19 outbreaks. So let's just flick on through these, Alan. So this is what we want to cover. Really give an overview of this in the context of a recent global grant application, which has now been submitted and is with Evanston for review. This is our Area 4 COVID-19 community healthcare response. So there'll be a couple slides that speak to that. We'll show you a distribution form that will show you both a view graph version, a slide version, and then there will be it's already been distributed by David, a form that you can sign up to distribute these thermometers with us. And there's also a link to request a free Kinsa. And then we'll have Jared, we've heard him introduce himself. He's going to give us his perspective from inside Kinsa. And Vicki Scudder may be able to join us. I didn't see her yet, but they were. She communicated by email today that they may be doing a large chunk of their distribution today, so she may be indisposed. So we can briefly chat about what we know about that and catch up with her later. Then Megan is also here with us from the Rotary Club of Dublin, who can give us an update on how their efforts are going on that. So let's move on through the slides, Alan. So just in terms of, as I mentioned, the context of this big global grant that we've just got submitted. It's not yet approved. We expect we might get some comments on it, but Ramesh, I've got to tell you, your grant team is just superb. John Winson and Geeta and others really helped us to hammer this thing out. We got it prepared. This will dump almost $100,000 into our local communities from the Tri-Valley, Livermore, Pleasanton, Dublin, out to Castro Valley and Hayward to do two things. The first is really to provide what little we can with that kind of money to the community healthcare providers, to provide them the COVID-19 response, prioritized material and equipment they formally requested to us. So we invited them to do so. They gave us their requests. We iterated to make it fit within the budget. And hopefully when we're approved for this, we'll be able to make those investments with our partners in our healthcare community providers. The other thing is for free, and that starts now. And this Kinsa distribution is part of that. We're going to partner with these healthcare providers and local health departments and our community leaders to engage volunteers to engage in contact tracing, consistent with the California governor's approach. You know, when it comes out, it's still emerging. It's being piloted with the first cohorts. UCSF's program for doing it is the model. And then in other COVID-19 education, outreach, and support initiatives. And I've got to just say that for me, Kinsa ranks right up there, and that's the takeaway at the bottom of this slide. So moving on, they're here. We have, these are your Kinsas in our hands, Jared, in my box, at the front of my garage, ready for us to go ahead and lay out and plan our safe pickup and then delivery of these to the designated list of addresses. And Jared shared with me the addresses today. I don't, it's not convenient for me to share them, but we'll get those matched up with the people who sign up to distribute Kinsas, and then we'll be good to go. And a model for this, I really want to give a shout out to Carolyn Siegfried and the Pedrosi organization. They did a recent rendezvous that's comparable, at least to me, in that they had members of their board come and pick up recipient signs for the students that were awarded Pedrosi scholarships and take them to homes where those students resided. So this is kind of analogous to that, and we'll take some cues from them. We also will have the benefit from the people at the school district. Kat Arthur is one of the school nurses who's heavily involved in this, and she's raised her hand in terms of being able to help us have make sure we have just a bulletproof process to keep people safe when they pick these up, deliver them to the people who've requested them, and terminate their volunteer assignment. So let's move on to the next slide, Alan. So this is what happens when you try and put the sign up form for this Google form onto a slide. So there are basically 3 panels on this slide. When you open the link that David sent out to club members, you'll just see a simple linear long form that you can click through and indicate your willingness to participate. So let's go to the next slide, Alan. And the other thing that we've, actually, Jared, maybe we'll check offline to get the link. I didn't see the link in the email, but I'm a little challenged today. I'm in a porch in Sacramento and my one machine died and I'm borrowing my wife's. And so, but at any rate, I think this is the landing page, the earlier version, and I believe the one we have now has the Rotary branding on it. Is that correct, Jared? Okay. So this is for people that we want to, essentially, as part of our outreach, we want to promulgate this. We want to cheerlead for this system, which provides a way for people to get this tool and start participating in generating a health signal that allows early detection of COVID infections. Next slide, please. And here we are, Jared, you're on.
All right. Well, again, thanks everybody for allowing me to join and crash your Rotary meeting here. I'm Jared. I'm the VP of Growth at Kinsa, And as Patrick shared before, what we do at Kinsa is we make smart thermometers. And what's very unique about these thermometers is any fever reading that is taken with the thermometer is automatically synced to a free smartphone app so that families can receive real-time guidance based on their symptoms and their age on what to do next and to prevent them from spreading illness. So for example, if you are a parent at a school and you have a fever, you wouldn't then bring your child to school where they may infect other children. So there'd be a prompt that would say remain fever-free for 24 hours. In addition, as a company, we aggregate all of these fever readings to become the leading indicator for mapping the spread of both influenza and coronavirus. So after this call, feel free to take a look at the New York Times articles or any of these other elements. But our main goal is early detection leads to early response. And so what we're very excited about, and this was a request from Patrick and in working with the Livermore School District, is to distribute more of these thermometers for free to families so that they get the benefit of having a thermometer if they don't already have one and having the guidance, and not just families, but folks out there who would like one, and then aggregating those fever readings to be used for public health benefits. So if you're Governor Gavin Newsom, you have an understanding of, are our interventions working in Southern California versus Northern California? And I don't know if I can share my screen here for 1 second. Is that possible? I'll check with the.
Yes, it is. It's absolutely possible. Go for it, Jared. You're on.
Perfect. So can everybody see my screen?
You're live. Go for it.
All right, perfect. This is a map of the United States based on atypical illness, which is generally associated with coronavirus. This map is populated by the 1 million plus thermometers that are out that our families and folks are using around the country. And so our goal is, let's increase the data set here. It's all anonymous and aggregated, but it's helpful for state governments and leaders and public health leaders to have a better understanding of what's going around and how to stop and mitigate the spread of illness. And so we've actually partnered with 5 states already, hundreds of municipalities, and close to 1,000 school districts to get these thermometers off. And this is our first foray in partnering with Rotary clubs. So very excited to work with you all and in getting your help in getting the thermometers out the door to those who need it and improving our ability to track the spread of coronavirus for public health benefit. And that is my spiel, but again, very excited about this. As Patrick mentioned, we have sent over 250 thermometers to Patrick's house, and we've sent over a list of folks who have already signed up in Livermore to receive a free thermometer. We're hoping that with this pilot, we can then replicate the success and bring it over to Ramesh and others across Rotary clubs in the United States who would be interested in helping support their local community with these free devices.
Yeah, just to follow on Jared's comments here, I'm really glad that Ramesh could join us because we want to really approach this in a lessons learned every step of the way. So we're rolling it out with Dublin participating, we're participating. We want to see if there are any things, we want to consciously look for how to improve the process so that when we move, and probably Jared, we have that group of Area 4 clubs, so that's 8 clubs. So there's some more in the Pleasanton area, there are 2 clubs there. In addition to the Dublin club, there's an evening club, and then we have other clubs in Hayward and Castro Valley. So we'd like to step it through the area, and then however Ramesh would like to have it rolled out and offered to the other clubs in the district. He's indicated his support for that. And further, we had the benefit of having Brenda Cressy was a trustee of Rotary, was in an email exchange where we were working on trying to think about disaster global grants and those kinds of things. And she liked the idea and took it to the Evanston person in charge of projects and programs. And they wrote back and said, this is just a great opportunity for Rotarians to volunteer, and even suggested ways to fund it. Because, well, Jared, you may want to comment on this. In California, you have a free allocation of these to deliver. In other states, like there's a Rotarian, it turns out it's a small world. There's a Rotarian in Florida whose dad and Ramesh's dad were cohorts at one point along the way and working together. He's trying to write a grant to be able to fund these thermometers in Florida for doing a very similar kind of a distribution that we're talking about. So with that, are there any other comments before we turn? I think we would have had Vicki come in, but I don't think Vicki's on the call unless she surprised us and now is here. If not, I can give a brief overview of what Vicki shared with me. This is a few weeks old, but I was really struck by the thoughtfulness and the sensitivity in which they were approaching this. They were starting with what you might think of as their most sensitive demographic. They have a special program for immigrant students. And that's a small cohort of maybe 15 students, and then it grows to 15 families, and then it grows to 30 families with an after-school program. And these are trusted school district people who are in communication with that community, who, one, are under-resourced severely, and two, have additional concerns about privacy, as you might anticipate. And so they've worked through starting with that group. They've moved then, I'm not sure exactly where they are in this arc, but as Vicki described me, they would work through then the thing that Jared stressed was really important in terms of how you distribute this to a district. You look for where under-resourced families are going to be. Well, think about free and reduced lunch programs. The families that are taking advantage of those programs often are those who are really going to need these kind of tools because it's harder for them. There are more exposures, there's more risk. And so the school district, as we heard from Dr. Bowers, has a number of feeding locations at the schools. And so they were working out a system there where people could come in and as they're getting their meal package, they could also get a Kinsa thermometer. And working through the logistics of that, because as you could imagine, maybe they need to actually have a little button that's or something like I voted sort of a thing, so that they don't get in the wrong line if they've been there before and already have a thermometer. Vicki described then a number of the other things until finally at the end she said we'll be down to our last of the 1,000 trying to figure out how to give them away. But they had I think the one that she referred to me today, and I may have misunderstood it because we didn't have a chance to talk, it sounded like a homeroom distribution that they were quite excited about, and that would be coming up at about 1:30 today. So what I liked about that was a very sensitive to the community and sensitive to the users kind of an approach, and rolling it out again in a way where you can learn what's working well and what kinds of things might be improved. So we'll make it a point to circle back with Vicki and the school district to see if there are things that other Rotarians, as they work with their school districts, might find helpful in approaching this. And with that, I think we would see, I think Megan, I think you're up, unless there's another slide in here that I'm not aware of. There you are.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me today. I'm really excited to be here and be a part of the conversation. Again, I'm Megan Rouse. I'm from the Rotary Club of Dublin, also a trustee in the Dublin Unified School District. And so we in Dublin are partnering with Kinsa in two ways. One is through the school district and one is through our Rotary Club. Very similar, I think, to what's happening in Livermore. And we're really excited about it. Through the school district, we received 500 thermometers, and they actually have been distributed, as I was over there this morning. They'll be distributed today and tomorrow. And our district nurses, I think, spoke with Jared and came up with their protocol for doing this. They had folks sign up ahead of time and fill out the form. And so we have all of their information, which is great because then they'll be able to follow up and make sure that they've signed up and are using the app and can help share all of this information. And, you know, they went within 15 minutes. Our community really was excited about it and responded, and a huge success. And I checked in with them today about it, and the distribution is really, it's great in that it's all across our school district, the many different schools. It's across lots of different groups of people, and so it really is a great way to provide this service and to get an idea of what's going on when we start reading the temperatures. I know that in the fall, there's going to be an additional layer to this program that Dublin's interested in doing, the Fluency, I think it's called, where Kinsa sets up our nurses with some additional software and support so they can really, even kind of micro target if, the second grade at one school is having a lot of fever, and we can really respond to that. So both in terms of preparing for and handling COVID, as well as other illnesses, it's just a really great service to offer our students and to encourage them to partner with our nurses and really sort of foster that strong relationship for health. I know that our district nurses are part of a group of nurses with the surrounding school districts, and so they're all chatting about this and sharing their practices and sharing how they're doing the rollout. So I know that ours are happy to share what they're doing with any other district that's interested in learning more, and I believe they're all already collaborating together, which is great. Now on the Rotary Club side, we also have offered to distribute these, and I don't have them yet at my home, but I suspect they'll come soon. And I do have a team of Dublin Rotarians ready to go, and we are ready to distribute those when we get the thermometers and the names of people. We're actually really excited about it, and to do our part in terms of sharing these devices and sharing the knowledge, and just really excited about it. So I want to thank Jared and Kinsa, and I want to thank Pat Coyle, who connected us together, and just really excited about this program. Happy to take any questions either here or offline. Thank you so much.
And I think that's where we are. That's just a fabulous report, Megan. I think we're into Q&A here for a while. And the only other questions I had were someone was a little rude about this thing around my neck, but this is just a simple mask. I think it may have been, I'm not sure who asked about it. It was something about a man killing butterfly, or I forget who it was that put there we go, there it is. But on a serious note, what I am just delighted with is the way that you framed this, Megan. I think I really am pleased at what I'm hearing here. And I think that this is an extensible approach where we're partnering with every Rotary Club is in a community which has got schools. And so, we're well positioned to try and work this partnership, and it just seems like the benefits are so strong. And I appreciate you also bringing up, this thing that we've been hearing about, the flu season coming in later on will be upon us, and that Kinsa has actually, if one doesn't want to request a free one, you can go to their site and purchase one, and they put another one that makes one more available for the free fluency program. So with that, unless there are some more comments either from Jared or from Megan, I think we were ready for questions, President Jay.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm so appreciative of being here and all of the work Megan, Patrick, and all the folks in the Rotary Club are doing here to help. This is very important. We've talked to the CDC and World Health Organization several times over the past week, and what's been clear is there will be likely a phase 2 recurrence of COVID in the cold and flu months here. And any early detection and any support, whether it's a thermometer or a mask or a pulse oximeter, goes a long way. I do need to unfortunately leave a bit early, so I will have to hop off, but very appreciative, and I look forward to hearing more about the success and the rollout of these programs, and all of your support. It's very, very much helpful to the broader community.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jared. We really appreciate it. And your elevator speech is far better than ours.
Thank you again. We really admire this.
Thanks all.
Well, folks, we're open for questions.
I did have a question for Jared that I chatted with him, so I will just email him or something. But I would just like to jump in and thank Pat and Megan and others who've brought this this opportunity to us. I'm one of the people that checks the Kinsa weather map literally every morning. It's one of the first things that I do to get situational awareness of what's happening with the spread of the virus. And the trends map, which Jared didn't show, is particularly useful. For example, when the beaches were crowded a few weeks ago, 5 days after that, there was an immediate blip in temperature in thermometer temperature incidences in Orange County and adjacent counties, just as a result of that. So you can really see what's going on. So just thank you so much, Pat and Megan, and to Kinsa for this partnership. Really great.
And I'll just share that I think Beth noted that Vicki Scudder is here. So if Vicki wants to have an opportunity to talk about the school district.
That'd be wonderful if we could hear from Vicki.
Vicki, you need to unmute. Let me find you. There you are. Okay, Vicki, you should be unmuted now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Does that work?
Yes,
Yeah, you're looking good.
Okay, awesome. I didn't see a control, so I was a little bit put off.
Fine.
I just came in on the tail end of Megan's report, and I thought that was absolutely marvelous. So I was very interested to hear what's going on there. Yeah, I mean, I think, Pat, you know what's been going on in Livermore. We just did our inventory, and we have officially dispensed 500 right now. We're at 500 and counting. Thermometers passed out, and the last push for us will be next week and a portion of this week. To the students are coming to school with their parents to pick up their their belongings, their books, and etc. So, and check out with their teachers. So we're going to take advantage of that pick up as well, to have the thermometer stations available there too. So Kat Arthur and I were planning that this morning, and she'll do a follow-up after she meets with the nurses tomorrow.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah, so we're in good shape, and we did a sort of a rollout.
Yeah, I described that a little earlier, perhaps before you got on, and I'm so glad you could join us, Vicki. I know we exchanged emails. I'm up here in Sacramento on my daughter's porch. Well, she's been to Kaiser today, but she's in post-surgery recovery here. But I just am really excited about this teaming and the way that to think about our school partners and our communities, our kids, our families, and then to have Rotary be able to lean into that just makes me feel very good.
Well, it was great to see Jared. That's a name that I have a name in an email, but I hadn't seen his face, so that was pretty cool.
I think that's the way it was for all of us.
I'm going to jump in. I want to thank Bruce Shore and Joel Swanson for using the hand up routine. So Bruce, you're up next. You've got a question.
Yes, I do. This is a question for Pat. Can you hear me okay? Am I on?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Okay. Now, I don't know how many households there are in Livermore, but I assume that one goal would be to get a thermometer, a Kinsa, in every household. But until we have that many thermometers, you're having to make some judgments about what you would emphasize. I'm guessing that you would want to see nurses and school teachers and maybe families that have children in school be up at the top of the list. And I'm also guessing that at the bottom of the list would be somebody like myself and my wife and our son who are just totally isolated and don't contact anybody. Would you say something about how you see the priority list and what your goal?
Yeah, I can comment on that, Bruce. I think basically we're following Kinsa's lead on this. And Vicki has a perspective from having worked with them in terms of getting through the application to get them to the schools. I touched on that a little bit, but Vicki might elaborate. What I heard in that conversation was that Kinsa, through Jared, wanted to make sure that the people who were going to be reached in terms of distribution were those that by some measures are more vulnerable. And in the case of that there are some ways in which they thought about that. Like one way is to make them available at the places where meals are being served. So that catches free and reduced lunch kids. So that's one element of it, Bruce. In the other, I don't know the rubric that Kinsa uses in the questionnaire and their outreach to when they were identifying the families that are on the list that we've received. I've not had a chance to scan that, but I think it's a combination of like public relations and advertising and media and trying to use the tools that are available, legal tools that allow advertisers to identify demographics, patterns, users, and those kinds of things. Because I know that there's been an emphasis on trying to make them available to people who will be at either higher risk for infection or more vulnerable if they should get the infection. Now, I don't know the internals of those algorithms. Now, Vicki, do you have a perspective on that from your interactions with Jared?
Well, the only thing I can say is a data point. And when we gave the very first day, we tried to keep some pretty, as much as we could. And I think they did a wonderful job of keeping very rigorous records of who we were, given the confidentiality and some of the other issues. But just as a point of interest, so 91 students at 30 families. Of this number of 91 students, we really can't tell you how many families. We want to say about 50 families came up to the drop station that first day. And of the families served, 30 families stated that they had no thermometer at their home.
Ah.
That's a huge percentage of the number of families, given we thought the family number was about 50. Because when the car comes up, we see the children in the car so we can get a child count. And we got from the families the number of children in the home. So we came up with 30 that they have to answer that question. They didn't have one at all. And that's a pattern that we find repeating itself in the distribution to the focus schools, which happen to be Maryland Avenue Junction and East Avenue. Christensen, we didn't do a drop at one point, although it is at the 4th focus school for us. So that was Jared, when he and I first had those initial conversations, in brief, that seemed to be the first push. And then the next was to try, for me, was to try and keep records, and now increasing that ability to keep records and have families sign up and at least give us a name and a contact, because that will help us determine in our population who received them of the elementary schools, if the next push is to look at the elementary schools district-wide, then we'll be able to see the percentage before we even start and sort of help chain back from that to the plan as well.
Thanks, Vicki.
I think Joel Swanson was next with his hand up.
Just some details here. Pat, I understand we have a list of a couple of hundred addresses already that we'll be delivering to.
I just saw that come in this morning, Jared. Excuse me, Jared just sent it this morning, Joel. So
Okay.
I'll get it out to you, and we can coordinate on that. And then we can get club members to use the sign-up form and identify our cadre of volunteers and take it from there.
Okay, just a commercial to the Rotarians out there. These deliveries are going to be sort of an Amazon-like leave the package on the front porch step when we do deliver them. So you won't be having, face-to-face contact with anyone out there if you're concerned about, the coronavirus and potential infections. So it's basically just being assigned some addresses and getting them all delivered. I'll be handling the details for Pat here.
And Jim Schmidt, I think you had your hand up. Are you still interested in the question? I guess not. Jim Schmidt?
No, it was Jim Hannon, and
Oh.
Joel answered the question I had, so.
Okay, all right, thank you. Jeff Youngsma.
Sorry about that, needed to unmute. I don't know if Jared is still on, but my curiosity kind of came with the app, and it's kind of a two-part question, not being able to look at the app just yet. Does that app, can that include an entire family, or is it just one thermometer lives with one person and one person only? And then number two, is there the thoughts of this app tying in with, as an example, Kaiser Foundation, which has an app that can store medical records, and that's how we're able to get more information for true mapping and true spreading. And those are a couple of questions. I don't know if there's actual answers to that yet, but
Jared had to step off, Jeff. But I've been using the app now since I bought one and it came. So I bought one, and then that generated a donation to the Fluency program. So I've been using it now for a couple weeks, and there is a feature to add another user. So when I open up the app, there's me, and right now there's just me on it, but I could have several people on that app as
okay, great,
and designate where the temperature reading is going to be saved. The other question, I'm not sure, and that's where we need to know from Jared. There are, as we can imagine, a raft of privacy issues and HIPAA-related things that I don't have a clue about how to navigate that space. But I had a similar question and asked in a chat, which the pace at Kinsa must be pretty brisk, because I think Jared's really swamped. But I asked, we've seen some evidence now about the use of pulse oximeter units as an early detection of people being ill with COVID when they don't even realize they are. And I wondered whether they might consider adding another sensor, if you will, instead of just the thermometer or something like the pulse oximetry. But I didn't hear anything back. And then the other question, like you say, I'm taking about 3 of these health surveys. There's one from Stanford. There's one from that UCSF and others are doing. There's several of those around that basically are just checking after a little bit of a longer survey. Then they boil down to, are you feeling better, worse, or the same today? Do you have any of these symptoms, yes or no? And with that, they're doing maps similar to what we're seeing from Kinsa, who's using the fever signal as a way to get at that. But I don't know the broader questions the answer to the broader questions you're asking.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll mute.
They're good ones, obviously.
Glenn, you're muted.
Gil has his hand up.
Who's on?
Gil has his hand up.
Oh, and there's Brian.
I thought I was on.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead. Sorry, I was muted myself. I apologize.
Okay. First of all, a clarification. I presume these thermometers require a smartphone. And so, of course, they're not suitable for families or areas where they don't have access to a smartphone. Is that correct, Pat?
In order for the data to be uploaded and used in this analytical process and generate a health signal, they need a smartphone. But the unit itself, no. It's just like it's just a little. Actually, I should have brought mine with me. But if you don't have a smartphone, you could just still take your temperature. You know.
Okay, and really, my next question's for Vicky when the kids go back to school. And I was wondering whether, I presume what the schools would like to do is take the temperature of every kid who's come in. And so I was wondering why the Kinsa thermometer, which was an oral thermometer, versus an infrared screening by each teacher. Because, or otherwise, all the kids going to come in and take their temperature in the school when they come in. And of course, you then have tracking. Are you going to track it to the school or back to the family? So I was wondering what your thoughts are on this. And maybe if I can just butt in another question through to Pat. I was wondering, Pat, if you could give us an idea of the cost per unit as delivered at the Coyles.
The retail, if you just buy one direct as a citizen, they're $36 a pop. That's just to buy one on the site. I don't know what kinds of margins are in that, and I don't know what the pure cost just for the unit itself is, Brian.
Okay.
I'm gonna. So TJ has had his hand up for about.
Well, Vicky was going to answer my question, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, you know, I actually am part of the process of planning what we're going to be doing next in the opening of school. And you can imagine every day is a new thought, a new consideration. So right now we have not even gotten to the stage of looking at how we're going to assess what that environment is going to look like and what the temperature aspect is, you know, how that's going to play in. Truly, I'm not dodging the question. We're just not there yet. I mean, we really have to think about what our facilities look like, what an on-day, off-day looks like. All the things that you're hearing from all the districts in the state are going on, you know, in that cabinet room right now. So don't have an answer for that. I was going to say, I thought it was interesting though, and maybe Pat mentioned it, the thermometer, obviously you get to a point when you're signing on your smartphone, and that was our surprise that I've shared. Many of our very, very low income families, the smartphone actually is a lifeline for them. And many, many, many of the parents that you would think would not, they have nothing, but they will definitely, that is their access to the internet, et cetera. They were very worried, as you might guess, especially with the migrant population, which was where we started, what that tracking aspect of the program would look like. And so as they go through the sign-in process, there is a point where you can opt out at a current time to track that data for you personally, but you can still look at the pattern for your family. So for what it's worth, and of course that could be turned on and off as well. And and as I said, part of the reason for keeping the data on those families, but very confidential, was that at some aspect, as we look at the school and what we're going to do in terms of assessing student health on a daily or weekly basis, that's going to come into play as well. So no answers right now for what the plan is, but it's rolling out, as they say, famous last word.
And then one other follow-on, just a quick follow-on to what Vicky's point is. The app has also got a bunch of information, even if you've chosen not to opt into having your data shared as part of the health signal, it still gives you, and Jared touched on this, it gives you an indication if you have these kind of symptoms, do these things, here's good health practices for you.
Yeah.
And it's got information in that mode as well. So that would be if you're just using it, you've decided you don't want your data thrown up to the cloud, you don't want it used for that purpose. It still has utility if you have a smartphone to be able to get that additional coaching on what you might do if your child has a temperature, so forth.
Jump in, TJ. Jump right in.
So what are the various ways that the data gets aggregated? I see the smartphone and the app. Are these people expected to call back in? I know that the most important thing is to determine whether they're sick or not, and they need to know it. But how does it get aggregated? And then when it does Kinsa have a map with resolution to the cities around the Bay?
So,
TJ, what I would say is I don't know the details of their back room, essentially their the way that they take and process the data sets. Glenn has looked at their maps in more detail than I have, and he may have some insights about what granularity there is in terms of how they represent and display the data. I don't know. And as near as I know, the data, by the time it gets up there, is anonymous. And so that at that stage, there's not the option like you would if you were doing contact tracing to reach back to whoever had that temperature and counsel with them and so forth. So if you get the sense, there's a bit of a partitioning in here. We're hearing a lot about contact tracing, and the smartphone manufacturers, primarily Google and Apple with the big iOSs for those, or the big OSs for those smartphones, building in tools to allow pretty serious, from a privacy consideration, sets of events to happen that could be used in contact tracing. As near as I can tell, this does not have those hooks built into it.
Okay.
Ramesh, you've been so patient with your hand up there.
I just wanted to make a comment. I wanted to share with you what else is going on in some other clubs in the district. The Cupertino Club has contacted the Cupertino Union School District as well as the Fremont Union High School District, which is in the Cupertino area, and they have expressed serious interest to jump onto this program. We also have another club, it's in the San Benito County, and they are interested in pursuing and getting the benefit from this program. So I just want to share with you a few other clubs that are interested. I come from a scientific background where we say what you cannot measure, you cannot monitor, and what you cannot monitor, you cannot control, and what you cannot control, you cannot optimize. So I think the measurement is a basic step where you start off any analysis. And I think this is the right tool that you're looking at. There are glitches around it. The opt-in facility for data sharing is a very good feature that we found with these Kinsa thermometers. I wish good luck for this program. Thanks, Pat, and other people for taking it on.
Great. Hank Shea, I'm sorry, you've had your hand up too. Thank you, Ramesh. Hank, go ahead, jump in.
Are these being distributed only to the public schools?
Yeah, we did a partnership with the Livermore Joint Unified School District, Hank, in terms of that particular distribution. However, there'd be no reason why any citizen can fill out that application to request one. That form has been distributed. So, or someone could take the initiative and try and organize that campaign.
Well, Pat, I was just thinking that if you're trying to reach immigrants, marginal people, that there are areas of the city that have more than other areas. So you might find a lot at St. Michael's.
Mm-hmm.
St. Michael's? I'm from St. Michael's. We specialize in marginal people. Just, you know.
It's something to consider, Hank. I'm sure there are lots of ways to try and do this in terms of engaging and how to do more outreach. And there's nothing that would stop us from taking the link, which is now, Jared's going to follow up that landing page where people can click on the link and it takes them to a page they can request a free Kinsa thermometer. We could promote that with communities, like if we have somebody who knows particular individuals there, this is part of the cheerleading and the outreach that I envision as part of our role to try and educate and do our part in making sure people know as much about how they can get tools to help themselves stay safe.
Thank you. Carolyn?
So Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, any of us who would like to have a thermometer, we can go online and order it ourselves. And is there something that happens that when we purchase one, that helps pay for one of the free ones?
That's the program that's on offer there. The one that I bought makes one more available for the fluency program. So so there's a bunch of ways there. You can and I think in that case, I don't know what the difference in fulfillment at the time I did it, and I think Bob Callan did his about the same time. They were kind of out of stock. They're manufactured in China, so it was a few weeks before they came. But yes, you can do that. So you can buy one, give one is a way to think about that. Or you can request one for free. Or you can share the link so other people can request one for free. Thank
and
you,
is that link, is it just kinsa.com, Pat? I'll put it in the chat.
No, there's a link in the David put it out as part of a P-mail blast.
Okay, so that's to request the free one. Is that how about to purchase one?
Then it's kinsa.us. It's not a com, it's a .us URL. Yeah.
And I'll take a moment here just to address TJ's question about the granularity of the regional data that is presented on the so-called Kinsa weather map. TJ, I look at it very carefully, and what they present is only on a granular down to each county. But I think they do it a little bit differently, because I look at adjacent counties in a given region, and to me, the data points look indistinguishable from one another. That is, if you look at Alameda County and an adjacent county, they look almost identical. And that could be an actual, trend, or it may just be the way that they aggregate the data. But as far as getting citywide, it's not on their publicly facing platform. They may have it privately, but they don't present it publicly facing.
Thank you.
Folks, the old clock on the wall says 2 minutes to go. Couple of last questions.
Just a last quick statement about the coverage for St. Michael's. At our stations where families come to pick up meals, we don't insist that you're a member of that your children attend our schools. We don't ask those questions at all. So if any of the families, a lot of the St. Michael's families, because I work with the migrant population, are not to say that it isn't a very important outreach independently, but just to know that we have managed to cover many of those families at St. Michael's through the program, and consequently getting thermometers as well. Just FYI.
Thanks, Vicki. That's a great clarification. That's where it's nice to have somebody who knows.
I live it.
All right, folks, we've come to the end of our time. Thank you, Pat, for putting together a wonderful program. The questions indicated the depth of interest. We will see you next week. For Mark Roberts, we stand adjourned.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks all.
And I will just say to those who generously agreed to participate in the President's Club, I did send chat directions, but I will contact each of you personally by email with specific directions for how to write the 3 checks. Thank you.
Thanks to all. Thank you so much, Megan.
Treasurer, Mrs.
I know Terry's left.